Good morning and welcome back to the Livingston Parish News Morning Show. My name is McHugh David, publisher and editor of the news. Appreciate you guys joining us this morning. If you're watching us live, thank you for that. If you are checking us out online, we do upload these shows to www.livingstonparishnews.com/podcast. They are free there. Do apologize for being late today. That's on me. Burned the midnight oil over the weekend. Caught up with me today. Had a little trouble getting out of bed. I do apologize for that. Getting into your traffic this morning, minor delays at 4-H Club Road, River Road, and 190. Some heavier delays at Lockhart and 16. Also some delays on 64 heading into Central, so you're going to have to deal with that. Some minor delays on those on-ramps, but I-12 is flowing, so that's a good sign this morning. It is a beautiful morning. It's currently 80 degrees. 91 degrees is your high, so it's not going to get too much hotter today. Probably heat index of 94, 95. Going to have some afternoon thunderstorms, 50% chance of rain. So probably going to cool off a little bit. Going to try to get through this show today. We do apologize again for being late. Going to run through it real quick. 91,706 cases of the coronavirus in Louisiana. 3,433 deaths. 53,288 have recovered. 1,069,000 tests have been performed. That's great. One of the top in the nation. You're also looking at 1,469 hospitalizations on 177 ventilators. In Livingston Parish, 1,892 cases, 42 deaths on 18,600 tests. Looking at these mitigation efforts real quick. Wear a mask in public. It's a mandate. Wash your hands for 20 seconds or more with soap and water. 6 feet or more of distance between yourself and others. Control your sneezing and your cough with an elbow or a tissue, your elbow preferably. Don't touch your face, my favorite one. 25 or less to a gathering, preferably less. And stay home if you're sick and utilize telehealth to get in touch with your doctor. Utilize, I guess you could say, telework. Try to stay home as well. The governor is going to speak today about moving forward. It has been 28 days since that last proclamation was signed. At least we're hoping he's going to speak today. We haven't heard much from the governor's office about that yet. However, on June 22nd, it was announced that the state would not move from phase 2 to phase 3, and that the next phase, or the next holding pattern, would last for 28 days or 4 weeks. That will be up this Friday, so we are expecting to hear some kind of announcement this afternoon. The state hovers at just under 10% total positivity. That's the kind of the goal. Right now it's sitting at about 9.3%. However, those positivity rates have been higher as of late. There's been some spikes and some rising in cases, especially rising in hospitalizations across the state. We're also not getting Saturday updates anymore. According to the update from the Louisiana Department of Health, Saturday morning, they will no longer be releasing numbers on Saturday. They will give, I guess you can say, a weekend update on Sunday, which will have the numbers from Friday to Saturday and Saturday to Sunday. Now, of course, we will have all of our weekday updates. They will stay intact. But again, the governor is expected to speak. Usually it's between 2 and 3 o'clock in the afternoon today about moving forward from phase 2 to phase 3. Now, of course, that's going to affect schools. We've talked a lot about it last week. We're going to be sitting down with Superintendent Joe Murphy this afternoon to do a podcast. I'm going to talk to him about the frustrations of going through a lot of this, what parents and students can expect, talking about some of the details. But of course, one of the main things that the schools have been pushing and that you need to do is you need to get on the phone Friday after the schools have kind of absorbed what the governor is going to do with regard to going from phase 2 to phase 3. Get on the phone Friday, call your school, because every school is going to be different in how they can handle some of these things. Some schools are more well-equipped to handle distance learning, whereas some schools are not. Some schools may make different choices than others. So it's going, based on the guidelines, of course, that were issued by the Louisiana Department of Education, absorbed by the central office here, and then resent out. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens this week based on the announcement that comes out today from the governor. But we are doing that podcast after the governor is supposed to go on. So we will have that information as we move forward through that show. So we'll know if the governor is going to move from phase 2 to phase 3 or not. Time will tell on that one. Of course, Cassidy, Senator Bill Cassidy, is still working on more funding for schools, trying to get about $1.8 million per school system to try to help them stand up or get back going. One of the reasons for that is probably because the rules require things like mask mandates, temperature checks, sanitization, extra sanitization, which means, extra hand sanitizer, that kind of thing, extra ability or, cleaning materials, especially for the little robot that the school had bought that can do school cleaning. So there's a lot of costs for standing school back up, especially amid the coronavirus. So please, we're going to have to be patient here. But there's also the CARES Act funding that came through the state and then went to the school board, which is allowing them to expand some of their tech offerings. So they're going to be able to do a better job with distance learning. They've done a lot of practice over the summer with virtual school, summer school, that kind of thing, in anticipation of having an expanded, I guess you can say, distance learning coming up here in the fall. We will see, of course, if schools or if the state moves into phase 3, then you can expect schools to be open regularly, and we'll find out more about this in detail this afternoon. But you will have to prove if you don't want your child to go to school, if you want them to participate in distance learning, you're going to have to prove that either they're high risk or you have high risk at home. So we'll learn a little bit more about that this afternoon. The sheriff held a moment of silence for those officers who passed away, in July of 2016. That's officers Montrell Jackson and Matthew Gerald, and East Baton Rouge Sheriff's Deputy Brad Garafola. If you'll remember, there was an active shooter situation on Airline Highway, and those 3 men lost their lives in that shootout. Several of them were Livingston Parish residents, so the sheriff recognized a moment of silence for them. 2016, a lot like 2020, especially for Livingston Parish residents. Just a tough year, a very tough year. Can't really say not a good year. Some people found their way through, but it was a tough year, very challenging, just like 2020. Speaking of podcasts, we're also going to be doing one Wednesday with Parish Councilman from District 8, which is the Springfield, Killian area, Mr. Randy DeLatte. He wants to come talk about drainage in his area and how it goes unfunded and how it affects the rest of the parish. So he and I will be sitting down Wednesday morning to have a pretty big conversation. I'm sure that's going to last a while, but we recommend you get ready for that. We're going to be releasing it Wednesday afternoon after he and I wrap up. Again, going to be talking about unfunded drainage. As of right now, there are 2 unfunded drainage districts over there on the eastern side of the parish, and they tend to have some, just as much drainage issue as the western side of the parish. Not as much development, though, and that tends to affect their ability to raise money for those drainage districts. So we'll be talking to them about that fundraising, why it's important. Again, that's coming up Wednesday. Big thing today, of course, is the governor speaking. As long as he does speak, again, we have not heard from his office as of yet, but that 28-day marker would be this Friday, or will be this Friday, since he signed the newest proclamation holding us in phase 2. I want to remind people of that coronavirus statistics: 91,706 cases statewide, 3,433 deaths, 53,288 have recovered. 1,069,000 tests have been performed, which is a great number. 1,469 are hospitalized, unfortunately, on 177 ventilators. Good morning, Ms. Gianna. I do apologize for being late this morning, and I'm sorry about that lag. In Livingston Parish, 1,892 cases, 42 deaths, and 18,600 tests. We want to remind folks of these mitigation efforts. Wear a mask in public. It is a mandate. Wash your hands with soap and water for 20 seconds or more. 6 feet or more of distance between yourself and others. Control your sneezing and your cough with an elbow or a tissue, preferably your own elbow. Don't touch your face, my favorite one. 25 or less to a gathering, preferably less. And stay home if you're sick, and utilize telehealth to get in touch with your doctor. Going back through this traffic real quick. Minor delays on 4-H Club Road, River Road, and 190. Heavier delays at Lockhart and 16, which is causing some other delays on 64 heading into Central. Some on-ramp delays this morning getting on I-12, so be cognizant of that. However, I-12 is flowing. Currently 80 degrees, 91 degrees is your high today, so it's going to be about 95 with that heat index. 76 your overnight low. Temperature's going to drop out because we've got about a 50% chance of rain starting at 4 o'clock. So if you haven't left for work yet, please remember to grab an umbrella. I want to remind folks, big things today. Expecting to hear something from the governor this afternoon about moving into phase 3 or not. We'll find out this afternoon. But of course, we also have a podcast following that with Superintendent Joe Murphy to talk about the process that the schools have been going through and how they're going to have to adjust based on the Phase 2, Phase 3 move, which affects sports as well. If you're looking for how that affects sports, did a podcast, and there's a story from Mr. Rob DeArmond last week where we talked about Phase 2 to Phase 3 and how that affects sports. One last time, my name is McHugh David, publisher and editor of the news. Appreciate you guys joining us this morning for the Livingston Parish News Morning Show. Please remember we're on Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, Instagram, and YouTube. We are once a week in print on Thursdays. That's $7 a month to get that in your mailbox. We are also online, www.livingstonparishnews.com. We have a free page for coronavirus, a free page for podcasts, and a free page for that breaking news, which is national and statewide news for your use. Again, appreciate you guys joining us this morning. I do apologize for being late. Tried to burn the midnight oil too many days in a row. Got to know your limits. Getting a little too old. Can't make that happen. So I do apologize, but we will be on time tomorrow morning, and we will have plenty to talk about after the governor talks today, and we talk to the superintendent this afternoon. So we look forward to seeing you then. Please have a great day. Don't forget that rain this afternoon. Bring an umbrella, and we'll see you tomorrow morning.